The Zimbabwe indigenization policy is back. Through Statutory Instrument 215 of 2025, the government has gazetted new indigenization and economic empowerment regulations, mandating that foreign companies operating in reserved sectors must cede control to indigenous Zimbabweans, and fast.
The Zimbabwean government has announced that 17 economic sectors are now exclusively reserved for locals. Foreign-owned business operating in these sectors must sell 75% of their shares to Zimbabwean citizens over the next 3 years, 25% each year. This directive is part of a statutory instrument 215 of 2025, which prohibits foreign ownership in industries such as artisanal mining, bakeries, advertising agencies, salons, employment agencies, and arts and crafts. Foreign investors are not entirely excluded, however. They can still participate in sectors like retail, wholesale, trucking, grain milling, and shipping, but only as major players. For example, in retail and wholesale, investors must commit at least 20 million and create 200 jobs to qualify. But how are Zimbabweans responding to this bold move?
But 17 sectors dzakaiswa nehurumende indikuona kuti hurumende yakagona handiti kunge pauri kutaura kuti maforeigner ngaabude handiti vambomira mazimbabweans atungamire paright because maforeigner zvinhu zvekuti zvikapinda vari kukwidza maprice ari kuzonyanya kukwira stereki
foreigners ngareke kuti kana vaya kuno otora mari chete obenefita ndiyo isusu tofanira kuti tiita seo tiwane mabasa handiti
sehurumende ivewo nerubatsiro rwainotipa kuti tigone kukombitawo mumabhizinesi achona kuti tivewo tikwanise kusapota pfungwa yehurumende yachona nekuti vakavasiya vakavati 25% isingakwanise vakaremerwa then votaura kuti semaforeigner takuchienda isi tinosara kuti isina kana mabasa.
Tisu tikabuda kunze kwenyika hapana tino 5 mabhodha ese mumablock atinobvunzwa mapassport tinototya kutokurosa kana kuenda kuZambia kana kuSouth Africa ivo kuno vanenge vari free isusu kana tiri muno matione ufree hwavo vanenge vanotoradanduka kudarika isusu maZimbabweans saka ipapo ngapagadziriswa apa pamaforeigner papaitwa zvinhu zvinoita kuti isusu zvatinoona kunze kwenyika zviitwe muno.
Tiri kuti isusu Labour Act ngaigadziriswe ichengetedze muZimbabwean kana achinge achishandira muforeigner zvekuti kana uchinge wabatwa zvisina kukufadza unokwanisa kunomhangara wokombanzitwa.
Zimbabwe will never learn, and they're on the news again. This time around, they're shooting themselves on the foot. Zimbabwe government has just passed a law that every foreign-owned business must give 75% ownership to the local within 3 years. And failure to do this is either your business is going to be closed down or you're forced to leave the country, which makes no sense. And who are they targeting? Everyday business, small business like spaza shops and salons and the likes. Does this really make any sense? According to them, large foreign investors can continue to make business and investment except they employ over 100 Zimbabweans for each business. I don't know how this is logical. First, they changed the way the farmers, now they're doing this to small business. What is wrong with African leaders? Once you start building something and you build something and it's working, they're running after you to claim it. Is that how it's done? I think South Africa should be expecting more and more foreigners and more Zimbabweans coming to the country because of this law.
Imagine this. You're a business owner who runs a very successful business, but you happen to be a foreigner in the country in which your business operates. Then one day you're told that you have to sell 75% of your business to a local citizen or risk it being shut down. Well, that is what is happening in Zimbabwe, a country where almost 400 foreign enterprises operate, some of them owned by people across the border in South Africa or further afield in Europe or China. Is Zimbabwe gambling with investor confidence? The government of Zimbabwe has announced a new rule under the statutory instrument S1215 of 2025, stating that all foreign-owned businesses in sectors like transportation, retail, wholesale trade, barbershops, salons, artisanal mining, and many others must transfer 75% of their business to Zimbabwean citizens within the next 3 years at 25% per year. What does this rule really mean for business owners?
At the moment, you have small sectors of the economy where you had foreign participation, where somebody, maybe a foreigner, would just come in, open a business, register maybe a business and start running a business. And these were considered as probably small to medium enterprises. So these are the ones that are now being targeted to want to be reserved for locals.
Over the years, Zimbabwe has seen a shift in policy on domestic business ownership. In 2008, an indigenization policy formalized by the Indigenization and Economic Empowerment Act required that locals acquire at least 51% ownership of foreign-owned companies. In 2025, indigenization laws were tightened, but one might wonder what the intended purpose is.
If you're looking at this policy, it's now targeting the areas that have been largely informalized due to the fact that foreign nationals have been able to come in from an advantage point of having foreign capital backing these sectors, which the locals could not compete with. So having that now come into place, it gives us the opportunity for locals to, one, formalize it into a sector where they could end up having support, which can be now government gazetted, as well as going into the tax brackets that they'll be actually now entering into, as well as having a longer term local capital wealth preservation that could be implemented. However, there is a short-term risk that comes with it from a regulation perspective, where foreigners now may see Zimbabwe as somewhere where there's policy inconsistency.
And that is the flip
wow,
side.
this is much now. 75% is not a small thing. For 3 years, that is 25% each year till 2028. Hey, make una take them easy, make una take them easy, or they will leave. And we are here blaming South Africa for what they are doing. We are here blaming that South Africa is xenophobic, is this. This one you are doing now, what do we call it? Okay, please help me to like, share, and subscribe.